Mr. Del Palacio, is that you?
This is.
Mr. Ortega Romero, are you with us?
Yes, I'm here as well.
I hereby start our special meeting at 6:01. My apologies for my voice this evening. If you guys can't hear me, just have Chapman repeat what I just said. So with that said, if you could join me with the Pledge of Allegiance. Member Chapman, if you can read the land acknowledgement, please.
Point of order. Attendance was not taken.
Member Dr. Luna, thank you for your point of order. Roll call, please.
Dr. Luna Najera? Here. Mr. Del Palacio?
Present.
Mr. Ortega Romero?
Here.
Mr. Chapman?
Here.
And Ms. Sun?
Here.
The Tolleson Union High School District serves 14,000 students with 15 indigenous communities represented throughout our 7 high schools. The Tolleson Union High School District Governing Board would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of this land, the Acamillo Odom and Peeposh peoples, and pay our respects to their elders present, or past, present, and emerging. We recognize their enduring connection to this land and their rich culture and language, and the invaluable contributions they have made and continue to make in our community. As we gather today for the Tolleson Union High School District Governing Board meeting, let us remember the significance of these lands and honor the legacy of the original stewards of this territory.
Thank you, Member Chapman. And now I'd like to motion for the approval of the regular agenda.
Second?
Roll call, please.
Dr. Luna Najera?
No.
Mr. Del Palacio?
Yes.
Mr. Ortega Romero?
Yes.
Mr. Chapman?
Yes.
And Ms. Sun?
Yes. Thank you. And the discussion item for this evening will be the discussion consideration to award of the contract for construction manager at risk CMAR 25-19-27 for high school number 8. Superintendent Gaius.
Yes, Madam President, members of the board, we have brought back the recommendation, and we have Mr. Ken Hicks, our Chief Financial Officer, available to present on this award.
Good evening, Madam President, members of the board, Superintendent Kayes, colleagues, and community members. Thank you very much for allowing me to come before you and present this. Thank you for calling the special meeting so that we could deal with this issue. So this is the recommendation from our CMAR number 25-19-27, and this was previously presented to the governing board on April 22nd, and if we remember that vote was actually a 2-2-1, so it was neither approved nor disapproved. So we are asking tonight And I did reaffirm with the committee after the board meeting if we wanted to continue, if they felt comfortable continuing to support that recommendation, and 100% of the committee said yes. So I will not go through the process of the committee and everything and just talk about the timeline right now. An approval recommendation will allow for the contractor to join the design pre-construction process by May 7th, 2025. That is tomorrow. I actually have not talked to anybody from Chase, so I assume that that's okay, that it'll be tomorrow quickly. So approval tonight still allows us to proceed as previously planned. This is approving the recommendation would require the district to start the Seymour process all over again. And I would add, talking to our procurement specialist, our assistant director of business services, reminded me that if it does fail the vote against it, would need a justification for our audit files. And so that would also come with the disapproval down vote tonight, would be asking for the justification. Disapproving the recommendation would then create some difficulty with the anticipated date of the contractor joining the team after July. So we would start the whole process again, and probably, I believe we have a board meeting July 8th. We would hopefully get it within that July 8th, which means they would be starting sometime in July. We still have the goal of opening a school in August of 2027. We are continually, we are a growing school district, and failure to meet this deadline could create additional overcrowding at our other schools and cause additional problems. So that is still our goal. The impact of starting over could have an increase of cost by 10 to 25%. This is an estimate. We did work with our architects looking at some of the information. Really, some of it's a premium, some of it's a lost savings. Remember, our CMAR, our construction manager at risk process, really the benefit is it allows that contractor to come in as early as possible to start having impact on the design. We still have an end deadline of opening August 27, which is really turning over the building of June 30th. So we need it before August to be able to put all of our furniture in and get everything moving ready, or school ready. So that lost savings or premium can be manifest itself in schedule compression. It could be we're doing late bidding risk where we're rushing things, leaving something out, not allowing the contractor to be part of the design process. And I know these are words that I don't think they all like to hear. Value engineering options, where they come up with additional options that actually reduce costs or reduce lead times for some of those long items that we have to order a year out. And sometimes it does create premium costs for overtime and labor costs. And I believe our West Point school, when we increased the cost for that, for the premium, was in overtime and labor costs, that they really rushed through that as well. And so it does have a lot of impact. Or we could just say, let's just move the construction back. We'll still open in August, but we would open that school at another one of our schools. And so you'd have two schools on one site, which would allow those extra 2 months that they continue their construction. So that would have a very minimal impact of upfront costs, but it would have the logistical pain, problems, and disruptions that we would have of opening a school on one site with another school, and then having to move them. And would we move them at the winter break, or would we move them a midpoint in October? There would be some costs with covering the moving costs of everything that's in one school now moving over to the other. I've done this a long time ago in Dysart when we opened up a school at one of our schools, and it was a logistical nightmare. We did use the winter break to do it, and it's something to try to be avoided at all costs. So with all of that, we still recommend from the committee for the Chase building team for our Seymour recommendation, and I will stand for any questions.
Members, questions, comments?
Yeah, I have a question. Mr. Hicks, this is just my opinion. I don't understand, I guess, the scare tactic approach to the presentation. Walk me through the 18 million to 25 million amount. How did you land on that? Are you using a formula? Are you using a guesstimate?
Madam President, members of the board, thank you very much, and my apologies, this is not intended to be a scare tactic. But working with our architects, they did send over a spreadsheet of what they see a change and how we would have an A and B current scenario where we currently are and what a change schedule would be. So it would change schematic design, developmental design, construction documents. I'm not sure what EWP is from our architects. And so with all of those dates changing, number one, we'd probably have to hire an estimator right off the bat for ourselves for a construction estimator, knowing that we would normally have a contractor and their team doing that. Without that, we would do that ourselves. That could only cost about $100,000, but right now, with the lead time of items, we do bring in CMARs, our contractors in early. What their benefit is they avoid costs, getting them in as soon as possible. That is what the CMAR process is designed and built for. Failure to do that means that you lose savings. There could be increased cost. There could be change of GMP later on. So it's a combination, and as I said up front, it is our estimate. It could happen. Does not guarantee materiality. Do I know it would cost more money? I know it will cost more money. Can I tell you exactly how much more it costs? I cannot tell you exactly how much more it costs.
Those members are online calling, member Romero Ortega or member Del Palacios. Any questions or comments?
Yeah, hi, this is Miguel Ortega. So obviously, you know, the price difference is very concerning. I just want to know for sure, is it 100% sure that this would increase the price that this would cost?
Madam President, members of the board, to complete, I'm assuming what you're saying, not approving tonight and restarting the process and pushing it back 2 months, yes, it will increase cost.
Okay, and then I also had a question. So on the slides, there was a mention of, let me find this, you know, more students would be in a specific school. I believe it was La Jolla. Now, obviously, we know the impacts of that. There would be larger classrooms. You know, failing to approve this motion, how long would that stand for?
Madam President, members of the board, still a little bit undetermined. If we push back the starting date and we move construction back and did not pay the cost premium and had very minimal, you would open up the school, say, for example, like you said, La Jolla, you would have increased class sizes. How long would that be? That would be our determination. We could modify the calendar, put a week in and see if we could move over in a week. I've been at a school district where we opened up a school in 4 days from when the contractor turned it over. Winter recess is always the best because we have the most amount of time and it would give us a little bit more time, but the pain and suffering that's having at that one school that's overcrowded might necessitate us doing it sooner. So it's really up to the school district and the governing board on when we move that over.
I see. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Oh, follow-up question?
If you can just hold on 1 second. Just quickly, quick question from myself. Could you share with us the timeline of the CMAR, the general contract approval, and then moving forward, building and, you know, breaking land? That timeline, what would be the ideal, and where are we at currently?
Madam President, members of the board, currently we're still in the programming stage right now, and our original timeline had us moving over to schematic design in about 2 weeks. And schematic design is when they're actually doing the drawings, and so this is the input, the time of the input for the contractor to have during our design drawings. To continue, construction documents would be drawn up in November. We're planning on submitting for city review and approval December, January, permits, construction starting in January right now.
Okay, thank you, Ken. Member Lorena Hera?
Yeah, so my understanding is projected pain and suffering for our students and our staff is an estimate. We have no guarantee that that would actually be the case. We have no way of predicting what enrollment will look like when we get there. Is that correct?
Madam President, members of the board, there's no guarantee next year, but pain and suffering, just living through having two schools on one site, when you're trying to separate, you have one doing a whole different lunch. You don't want them, because you're trying to, the principal is going to be trying to create their culture. You're trying to make sure whose staff is who's reporting to who's doing whose evaluation.
I understand
The
that. Mr. Hicks.
difficulty in the logistics does create some pain
My
and suffering.
question
Sorry.
is there a guarantee that that is the scenario where we would end up in? And just based on this information, I don't see how you can guarantee that that's where we would end up.
Madam President, if I may.
Superintendent Guys.
So we know right now that West Point is suffering. We have a West Point teacher here. West Point's on a cart. We have two of our campuses right now are overcrowded. We've had members from Tolleson Union come over to this board meeting complaining about the overcrowding of our schools. So will there be suffering? There's already been suffering. That was the whole argument with the School Facilities Board on why they needed to move forward with this approval, despite the fact that we were agendized to be denied by the School Facilities Board in December when Mr. Hicks and I went down there and presented to them. So there's already suffering. This idea of we don't know for sure if there will be more suffering, there is already suffering on our campuses from the overcrowding. La Jolla is about to begin experiencing the same thing that West Point and Tolleson Union have been dealing with for the past 2 years. So it's not a question of if there will be suffering. We can argue all night about the semantics of how much suffering there will be, but the question is, how much more suffering do we want there to be?
Thank you, Superintendent Guy's comment. If we can go back to the members that are calling in, Member Del Blasio or Member Romero Ortega for any additional questions.
Yes, this is Member Del Pino. For the record, I just want to say that it is never a wise choice to choose unnecessary pain and suffering, especially when we're in a position where we don't have to. I want to thank you, Mr. Hicks, for bringing this information back with additional data points for us to make an informed decision in terms of the potential cost increase. I mean, that goes without saying. Just the cost of increased materials due to tariffs and other political economic impacts. So I do think there's going to be an increase in cost, and the pain and suffering is just not justified in my opinion. But again, I want to thank the committee for taking the time out of their busy schedules, especially our teachers that are involved and our staff, to go ahead and participate in this process to ensure it was thorough and transparent.
Thank you, Member Del Blasio. And another question, if it's possible, Mr. Hicks, if you can be more specific with the numbers, like 10 to 20%, what would be that out of the number?
Madam President, members of the board, for the additional costs,
Yes.
I did work with our architects, just asking their estimate. They did give me as much as 10 to 25%. Some of it is timing and where and how. So that's part of why we have a CMAR process, is to get them involved as early as possible to avoid some of these costs. So they've been just using historical data. We know it'll cost more. I can't tell you exactly how much more it'll cost.
So is it 10 to 20%, is that a set range, or can it potentially even exceed the 20%?
Madam President, members of the board, it could exceed. And I will say part of the SFOB's decision was to help with the award was the sooner you do it, the cheaper it is. Time is money, and if you wait a year, it's going to cost a lot more money. Same with us. We wait 2 months, it will cost more money.
So the time to act is now. Okay, I just want to clarify that. And to go back to Member Del Blasio mentioning the process with CMAR and the committee members, I like to double down on that, to say thank you, and that is not lost on this board. Tonight is a very important time, and we want to be respectful to our communities that we will build a school that will alleviate the crowded, limited spaces, for our students, and that we owe that to them to follow the timeline and to maximize their bonds and overrides that they paid for this school, and that we need to be a good stewardship in that fashion. Members, those that are online, are there any other questions, comments that you would like to add?
No question and comment on my end. Thank you.
Just real quick, members. Thank you again, Mr. Hicks, you and your team, and certainly the members of the committee for the time you put into this. Again, I think this is a very thorough process. I think you shared at the last meeting there was 3 hours of discussion going over rubrics and the presentations and the stuff that was submitted. When I think you said on average that's usually 25, 30 minutes, which I think means that everyone took this very seriously for the task in hand, constructing our new school. So definitely want to thank everybody for their work. I know most of them are in this room tonight, so thank you. Risking additional costs and additional burdens to our staff and students on any of our campuses is unacceptable, and the reason we went down to the SFOB to get this approved, the reason we went out to our community for the bond dollars was to get this done in a timely manner and an affordable manner to make sure that we are doing the business of the district was to educate our students. So thank you again for bringing this forward.
So members, before we go for the vote, I just want to, echo what we've all said already. That time is of the essence, and we owe it to our taxpayer, and that's what we are elected to do, and that we will all need to dig down and vote with our conscience, and our goal, as the collective board, will be the voice. So with that, I don't have any more comments, questions.
I'll make a motion to accept the committee's recommendation for the award of the CMAR 251927.
Second. Roll call, please.
Dr. Luna Najera?
Yeah, when I ask about, when
We don't do explanations, comments for votes, so let's proceed with
when I
your
ask
vote.
about the pain and
There will
suffering,
be no
it is not my
additional comments
intent
for the
to say
voting
that I want pain
process.
and suffering for our
So if
students.
you could restrain yourself and just give us your vote. We don't do explanations. We had this discussion. If you had it, you
Show me
should
the
have done it
policy.
before. The thing is, we
Show me the
open it up.
policy.
Superintendent Guys, can you show her the policy where we do not allow explanations for our votes?
Yes, Madam President, we'll get it up on the screen.
As any president on this board, we are aware of our policies and the fact that we want to have selective amnesia.
It's not
very
selective. I
unprofessional.
find your
It's
comments
very unprofessional.
disrespectful.
You are not being recognized at this point.
You were being
so please,
disrespectful.
something.
Because
I think
the
that being
policy does not
disrespectful-
say
It
that we
does.
cannot
It does.
explain a vote.
It does.
No, it does not.
It
It does not
does.
specifically say a board member may not
There
explain
you
their
go.
vote.
You can go ahead and look at it.
It does
Madam
not say
President,
that.
I'll read the policy.
Thank
while
you.
Michael looks to put it up on the TV. Votes on all motions and resolutions shall be ayes, nays, or abstentions at the discretion of the board president or on the request of a member. A show of hands or roll call vote shall be made and the vote of members shall be recorded. On a show of hands or roll call, an indication of how each member voted, the names of the members who propose each motion, and the names of the persons as given who make statements or present material to the public body, and a reference to the legal action about which they made statements or presented material shall be recorded. All motions shall be carried by a majority of the members who vote or as otherwise required by law. So more specifically, the votes are ayes, nays, or abstentions. Our policy does not allow for explanation of a vote.
And for
policy
the
does not
record,
state
state
for
you are
the
not
record-
recognized.
The policy does not state
Statewide,
that you
the
can or
Arizona
cannot explain.
statewide district of over 500 district does not allow explanations for your vote. So we will proceed with the roll call vote, and if you could give us your ayes, nays, or abstain, please proceed. Member Luna.
You are disrespectful.
I believe that we are doing our best, and if you don't find the professionalism, may you look in the mirror.
Seriously, Lisa? Wow. I
Dr.
vote
Luna
yes.
Nahara.
Mr. Del Palacio,
Yes.
Mr. Ortega Romero,
Yes.
Mr. Chapman,
Yes.
and Ms. Sun.
Yes. Second. Members, I just want to thank you for taking the time to come out for this special meeting. Appreciate your attendance, and thank you for those committee members for making this process a success, and those that are all parties involved in. Big congratulations to our new GC, Barry Chase. And with that said, I'd like to get a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Dr. Luna Nahara,
Yes.
Mr. Del Palacio,
Yes.
Mr. Ortega Romero,
Yes.
Mr. Chapman,
Yes.
and Ms. Sun.
Yes. I hereby adjourn the meeting at 6:27. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you all.